Hi, I'm Sasha, this is Eleanor, and this is Elle, and together we're going to take you through a 7-week series on yoga and the art of aging. Today is class 1 and we're going to be focusing on strengthening the core and spine stability. So let's begin by lying in Shavasana, so unfolding our legs and rolling down onto our back. If you've got neck problems, Ellen is going to demonstrate with a folded blanket underneath her head. And if you don't have neck problems, Elle's going to demonstrate just lying on our back in Shavasana. So closing our eyes and have the arms a little bit away from the body and the palms facing up towards the ceiling. Quietening our mind and focusing in on our breath. So letting ourselves be here now, in this present moment. Long, smooth and even breaths. So on the inhalation, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And on the inhalation, we need to fill the abdomen first, and then the breath needs to move into the middle of the rib cage and then into the upper rib cage. And on the exhalation, we do the reverse, so the upper rib cage. The middle rib cage then softens and then the abdomen softens. So keep focusing on allowing that to happen. In through the nose, out through the nose, long, smooth and even breaths. So we do this at the beginning of class to focus our mind, bring our attention to our breath and just to relax our body. We will be taking the breath work throughout our whole entire class, and it's really important to breathe throughout the class so that tension does not build up in the body. And when we're ready, let's take a nice deep inhalation and inhaling the right arm above our heads, rolling over to our right side and quietly come up to standing into Uttanasana. So Virasana, mountain pose, standing tall and strong like a mountain. So the feet need to be spread and broad and open. If you have ankle problems, knee problems, lower back problems, hip problems, are menstruating or pregnant, you need to stand like Eleanor and have your feet hip width apart. If not, stand with your feet together like myself or Elle. So draw the energy up through the legs. Have the spine stacking, the bones in the spine stacking one on top of the other. Keeping the shoulders nice and soft and relaxed. And the sides of the neck long, crown of the head up towards the sky. And again, long, smooth and even breaths. So we're going to begin by warming up the body, increasing blood circulation and flow. Inhale the arms up above the head. And exhale, Utkatasana. And all the way down, inhale, Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Sit bones to the sky, crown of the head to the floor. Now stepping the right leg back or jumping the feet back to plank. And make sure the shoulders are over the wrists. So Eleanor here is demonstrating the half plank. So a full plank like Elle is doing, Elle jumped back. He's doing the more advanced versions in this series. So if you want to challenge yourself, follow Elle. If you're finding it too challenging, then you follow Eleanor. So Eleanor's down on her knees, but she's still got the body coming forward and the shoulders are still in line with the wrists, and the core is still engaged. So you'll begin to start feeling, after holding this for a little bit, some heat building up in the core muscles. And then we're going to move back. Exhale, we're going to move back to Adho Mukha Virasana. So the buttocks moves back towards the heels, keeping the arms nice and straight and the palms still spread just like you did in downward facing dog. And now we're going to inhale up to upward facing dog. Excellent. And then we're going to lift from our core back to downward facing dog. And we're going to take long, smooth and even breaths here, about 5 in total. And in downward dog, the feet are always hip width apart, never together, and the hands are always shoulder width apart. Breath is long, smooth and even. And the hands are spread. The shoulders move up towards the pelvis. The sit bones, they're the bones that you sit on that you can feel that are a bit bony when you're sitting down on a hard floor. They lift up towards the sky. And the legs are nice and straight. And then when we're ready, we're going to either step back with our right leg in between our hands, or Al's going to show us jumping back. And Uttanasana. And then we're going to come into Utkatasana. And reaching up towards the sky. And hands, bring the hands to prayer position, inhaling and exhaling. And again, inhale the arms up. And exhale, Utkatasana. So drawing the sideways in towards the spine and skin on either side of the navel in towards the navel. Uttanasana. And stepping or jumping back to plank. Make sure again your shoulders are over your wrists, and make sure that your bottom's not sticking up in the air, that the bottom is down and the tailbone's long towards the heels. Long, smooth and even breaths. And bending the knees, coming back to Adho Mukha Virasana. Arms straight, inhale, lead through. Draw the chest nice and through, arms nice and straight. Use your core muscles here and lift back to downward facing dog. Long, smooth and even breaths, making sure that the shoulders move towards the pelvis, so not up round by the ears like this. This is a common mistake for beginners in downward facing dog. We want to keep the shoulders nice and broad, the hands broad, the shoulders broad and the feet nice and broad. Good. And stepping the left leg forward or jumping the feet in, Uttanasana. And Utkatasana, powerful pose. And then reaching up towards the sky. And hands down to prayer. And 2 more times through. And inhaling the arms up above the head. And exhale all the way. Utkatasana. And Uttanasana. And stepping the right foot back or jumping both feet back to plank. Good. So that you can see on Al that the tailbone here is nice and long, that the legs are nice and extended and the heels are away. Just make sure that the outer ankles don't roll out. This can happen as well. So we want to keep the body in a nice straight line. Straight line so the energy's flowing nice and freely. You can see that the neck is nice and free and the crown of the head's moving forward to the front of the mat here. That's looking great, Al. And let's move to Adho Mukha Virasana. That's it. And Eleanor, if you just take your knees a little bit wider, so you can, if you're finding that challenging, just take the knees wider and the toes together. This is a little bit easier and creates a little bit more space for the body. And upward facing dog. So make sure you're using the core muscles in your upward facing dog so you're not squeezing into your lower back. And downward facing dog. Good, so you can see here on L that he's got the hands pressing down into the mat evenly. And he's got the arms nice and straight, so the inner elbows are moving in towards one another. Can you just bend your arms for me, Elle? So sometimes this is what happens for beginners with downward dog. So we really need to focus on keeping the elbows nice and in. Shoulders down the spine, sit bones lifting, feet spread, and long, smooth and even breaths. And I'll come and join in again for the last one. And stepping the right leg forward in between the hands or jumping back in. Uttanasana and Utkatasana. And pressing down through the feet, inhale up. And exhale down to prayer position. Inhale, exhale here. And last one, inhaling the arms up above the head. And Utkatasana and Uttanasana, forward bend, and stepping or jumping the left leg back, feet back to plank. Long, smooth and even breaths. And Adho Mukha Virasana. And upward facing dog. Now if you're finding that it's coming into your lower back a little bit in this pose, you just can come up to here. You don't need to straighten the arms, but you really need to make sure that you're engaging your core so you're not crunching into your lower back, particularly if you have lower back problems. Exhale back to downward facing dog. And then stepping the left leg forward or jumping the feet together. And Utkatasana. And inhale. And exhale down. Hands into prayer. And we're going to continue warming up the body, continue warming up the legs and the core. And we're going to come into Utkatasana again. So we're going to hold Utkatasana this time, taking long, smooth and even breaths. And just like we did in plank, the tailbone comes long and down and the core muscles move in towards the spine. Now just make sure that the knees don't come together. So Eleanor's got it really nice. The knees over the second toe here. That's really good. And the neck's nice and long. And the palms are facing one another. And then we're going to exhale and we're going to bend all the way down to Uttanasana. Good. And we can see again the crown of the head is towards the floor and the sit bones here, they lift up as much as you can up towards the sky. And always, always shoulders towards the sacrum. So the sacrum is a triangular bone at the back of your pelvis. So always scapula to sacrum. Keep the breaths long, smooth and even, and continue to work the legs and feet just like you did in downward facing dog. And then we'll come into Utkatasana again, so bending the knees. Long, smooth and even breaths. So if you're finding with this that when you're coming through doing the practice with us that we're holding the poses for too long, then you just need to come out and rest and come back in when the breath has calmed down. So you never want to come to a place where the breath is caught or stuck or you're feeling out of breath. And when you're ready, pressing through the heels, reaching up towards the sky and hands back to prayer position. For Virasana. Inhale, exhale here. And 2 more times. Inhaling the arms up. And exhale, Utkatasana. Good. So keeping the scapula down towards the sacrum. Core muscles working. Make sure the weight is in the heels. So often in this pose, students take the weight into the balls of the feet. If you just take the weights forward a little bit more, Eleanor. See, these guys are so great that I have to take them into mistakes. So that there's more weight into the calves. You really want to be feeling it in the thighs, because this pose is all about toning and strengthening the thighs, inner and outer, and the hips around that core area there. And coming down to Uttanasana. Good, long, smooth and even breaths. So Uttanasana, standing forward bend, is great for stretching out the back of the hamstrings. So with our core area, which is from here up to here, we want it to strengthen, but we also want flexibility there as well. So for a lot of people, their lower back problems actually come from too tight hamstrings. So this little series here we're doing is strengthening the quadriceps and the back of the hamstring, as well as stretching it. And coming into Utkatasana again. Great, long, smooth and even breaths, and pressing down through the heels and coming up to standing. That's it, and hands down to prayer position. Good. Inhale, exhale here. And we've got one more. So Utkatasana. Good. So keep the tailbone long. That's it, good. So that we're not sticking our butt out here like a duck. So we really want to keep it tailbone long this way. That's good. And the shoulders down. So soften the throat. That's always a good way to tell if you're straining too much, is by checking in with your throat and seeing how soft it is. Uttanasana. Great. Keep the feet broad. Keep the legs working. So for some of you, you can see on Eleanor here, her legs are nice and straight. She's got reasonably good hamstring flexibility. For Al, it's a little bit more challenging, so his knees are a little bit softer, and that's fine too. You'll still feel the stretch up the back of the hamstring. So the aim is to get to the straight knees, but that's fine too with slightly soft knees. Now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to come back up to Utkatasana for a couple of breaths. And then we're actually going to bend all the way down. Use your hands to help squat all the way down. And let's come to laying on our backs. So we'll keep warming up the core. So, arms up above the head. Good. And Virabhadrasana. So the legs are in Tadasana. The palms are facing one another. Good. And then we're going to curl up through the spine. So bring the hands back up past the shoulders, tuck the chin into the chest, curl up through the spine, curl up chin to chest, curl up through the spine, come up to sitting, reaching forward towards the toes. That's X. That's good. And then rolling back down again. Roll, 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 roll. Good. So moving up vertebrae by vertebrae when you come up to sitting. So really warming up the core muscles. And again, so we just keep going with this. That's it. Inhaling, curling up through the spine, reaching forward towards the toes, and then rolling back down. So you can work just with your own breath here if you need to. Inhaling and exhaling. Good. And then coming forward again. So when you come down, reaching the arms through, tucking the chin into the chest, and that's it. Reach the fingertips towards the toes. Good. And then back down again. That's looking great. And let's do 5 more of these. So tucking the chin into the chest. Reaching forward and down again. That's it. So make sure when you come down as well that you're curling down vertebrae by vertebrae. So you can see as Eleanor comes up, she's tucking the chin into the chest, she's keeping the shoulders down, using her core and reaching forward. So again, Eleanor can come right down, or you can just come forward to touch your toes and curling back down. So you guys just keep going with your breath. Or for some of you, you might not be able to touch your toes even, and that's fine. You just come as far forward as you can. So this pose is really good for strengthening your core muscles, but actually encouraging the core muscles to work again. So particularly for women after they've had babies, what tends to happen is these whole core muscles and abdominal areas, they switch off and they forget how to work. And this is a really good basic exercise to turn these core muscles on again and to encourage them and teach them how to support the spine in a healthy way. So as we know, it's really important to build up our strength in our core muscles to help have a healthy lower back. So as I mentioned before, often lower back problems are from tight hamstrings, but also from weakness in the abdominal area. So let's do a couple more. What are we up to, guys? I forgot, I'm not counting. We'll do one more after this one. So rolling back down. Great, and last one. Good. So, and just stay here, and I'll join them into sitting. And then we're going to cross the legs over, right leg in front, and Al's going to show us a nice jump back to downward facing dog, or like Eleanor and I, stepping back to downward facing dog. Good. And walking the feet in towards the hands. And rolling up through the spine. Now if you suffer from low blood pressure, just make sure that you roll up through the spine really slowly here, okay? And if you still find that you're feeling dizzy, then you probably need to take it even slower still. Okay, we're going to carry on with some standing poses now to continue to strengthen the legs. So we're going to come into Garudasana, which is eagle pose. So right side, we'll lift up the right leg and we wrap it around the left leg. Now for some of you, you won't be able to get the leg all the way around. So you can see with L, he can get the leg all the way around, and Ellen is just putting it across, and that's great too. And then we bring the left arm up and we wrap the right arm around. So again, if you can't get the palms together, then you just work them together like so. Okay, so this pose is really good for creating balance and poise. So if you fall out of the pose, don't worry about it. Just take a couple of breaths in Uttanasana and then just come back into the pose. So with any balance pose, you need to find a spot on the floor, and that will help you balance and quieten the mind. So a few more breaths here, and then when you're ready, coming out, reaching up towards the sky. Take the feet hip width apart, and we'll come down into Uttanasana, or if you can, holding on to the big toe into Bhujangasana, which is hand to big toe pose. So with hand to big toe pose, you can see here with Eleanor, she's got these two fingers and they wrap around your big toe. And if you can't hold the big toes, then that's fine, just either fingertips on the floor, or you can cross the arms over like so, and we'll just remember to change the cross on the other side. And let's rolling up through the spine. Great, nice and slowly, chin to chest, just like we did on the floor, and bring the head up last so we don't get lots of blood rushing. And then left side for Garudasana, so lifting up the left leg and wrapping it around. And right arm up and left arm wrapping. So Garudasana, eagle pose. So the hands here are in line with the nose, and the hands are pointing directly up towards the sky. That's it. So they're not too far back towards, can you bring your hands back towards your forehead down there like that? So make sure they're parallel. So this is a really good stretch for stretching out your shoulders and also for creating strength in your legs. So as I showed before, your core is really from here to here. So we need to work on strengthening that, particularly the tops of the thighs, and us women as we get older will all know about that. So lifting up through now, reaching up towards the sky. And coming down again, Bhujangasana. So again, either holding onto the big toes or just crossing the arms over. And remember, if you cross the arms over, to change the crossover this time. And rolling up through the spine. And we're going to come into Utkatasana, hand to big toe pose. So I'll just demonstrate the pose and then Ellen will show you the variations. So hand to big toe pose, just like we were doing, holding onto the big toe with the finger grip, and then the leg comes straight out the front like so. So Eleanor is going to use a chair and Al's going to use a strap. And we'll start off in Uttanasana. So Eleanor's going to use the back of the chair here, but if you're finding even that's too high for you, if your hamstrings are really tight, then you can turn the chair around and use the seat. So you can use whatever height feels comfortable for you. Okay. So when we're ready, always starting off in Uttanasana, connecting to our breath and just lifting the the right leg up. And if you're using the strap, just taking the strap around the ball of the foot. That's it. And if you're using the chair, like Eleanor here, she's got the right leg on the back of the chair. That's it. And Eleanor, if you bring your arms up above the head, yep. Or you can leave your hands on your hips like Eleanor was doing if this variation is challenging with the arms up. Or Al here, he's got his right hand onto the strap and the left hand onto his hip. So long, smooth and even breaths. Whoa. So again, with your balances, don't worry if you fall out and if you do a bit of wobbling. These guys have done a lot of yoga and they still wobble around a little bit sometimes, so that's fine. You just find your focus, find your spot on the floor. So again, these poses are really good for strengthening the muscles in our legs and particularly our upper thighs. Long, smooth, even breaths, and they also create centeredness and poise, so you'll notice how focused your mind comes when you do practice standing balances. And let's release. And we're going to just we'll come into the other side. So left leg lifting. So either onto the chair again, hands onto hips. So as I said before, you can either keep your hands on your hips here, with the Eleanor's got her lovely shoulders down her spine, down towards her sacrum, and her underneath leg is straight as well. And then reaching the arms up above the head, or if you're using the strap, and you don't have to have, we've got these yoga straps here, but if you don't have yoga straps at home, then you can just use a belt or your dressing gown cord or whatever you've got handy. And the other hand goes onto the hips. So long, smooth and even breaths. Good. Really stretching out the back of the hamstrings. Now in these balances, the other thing that you need to do in balance poses is to always work the core, and that always helps you balance. So squeezing the side waist in towards the spine and the side columns or the skin on either side of the navel in towards the belly button. And releasing down. Good. Coming back to Uttanasana. And we're going to move, coming back, reaching up towards the sky. Inhale up towards the sky. And coming down to Uttanasana. And I'll move Eleanor's chair out of the way for her. And stepping back to downward facing dog. we're going to come into Virabhadrasana 1, warrior pose, and we're going to come into this through what's called three-legged dog. So we're going to lift the right leg up, and when you do this, make sure that you keep the balance even through the shoulders, so we're not leaning off to one side. Can you lean off to one side, Al? This is what tends to happen, and the hips tend to twist a little bit. So really try and keep the hips nice and square, just like Al was, and the hips, shoulders nice and square. And when you're ready, step the right leg through in between the hands. Now, if you have to, some of you won't be able to get that lovely sweep through like Eleanor just did. If I demonstrate, you might sort of get the leg here and then you have to kind of walk it forward a little bit, and that's totally fine. But what is important, that you get the knee in line with the ankle, that the knee's not over the ankle, otherwise you can risk damaging your knee. Okay, and we're going to reach up now to warrior 1. So reach the hands up towards the sky. Fantastic. And so you can see here, Eleanor's got her palms facing one another, and Al's got his palms or hands shoulder width apart. So either version's fine. If you can't bring the hands together and keep the arms straight, then you need to bring the palms shoulder width apart. So again, check in with your throat, make sure it's nice and soft. And the breath is long, smooth and even. And try and make sure that the back leg is nice and straight. And then exhale down, hands all the way down. Good. And stepping back to downward facing dog. Good. Take a couple of breaths here. Downward dog is a recovery pose. Now, for you guys who are beginners or haven't done much yoga, downward dog doesn't ever feel like a recovery pose, but the more that you do it, the more it will. You'll find that it's a comfort pose that you'll really enjoy doing. Okay, and left side, lifting the left leg, three-legged dog. It's it, keeping the hips nice and square. It's it, weight into the shoulders nice and square. Good. That's it. And then the left leg through. And again, if you can't just sweep it through, take a couple of steps, that's fine. So you can see here with Al and Eleanor that they've got the back leg nice and long. So really try and keep that leg nice and long, really lifting up the kneecap. And then when you're ready, inhaling the arms up above the head. That's it. And this is quite a balanced pose because we've got the back heel off. So again, you really need to work on working the thighs. And in particular, squeezing the outer hips in towards one another. So they're part of your core. And again, the sideways in towards the spine and the skin on either side of the navel in towards the spine. And that will all help your balance. Yeah, your core stability balance. So that's the best way to build core stability, is by practicing balancing poses where they naturally have to engage. And exhale the hands all the way down. And stepping back to downward facing dog. Fantastic. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to bend the knees and come through to sitting on our bottom. So Al will demonstrate with a nice jump through, and Eleanor and I will just come through, crossing the legs through and sitting in Dandasana. And we're going to roll down through the spine. Rolling down through the spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, and then arms above the head. And then we're going to lift the legs up to 90 degrees. Good. Long, smooth and even breaths. And we're going to exhale the legs down to just off the floor. So exhaling, the legs are nice and straight to just off the floor here. Good. And then bending the knees into the chest. And legs all the way back up, feet all the way back up, and exhaling down. So working with the breath. So you might be doing it a little bit faster than us or a little bit slower, and that's fine. And we're going to do 10 of them. Okay, and up again. Now what's important here is that the lower back is in contact with the floor. So it doesn't need to be pressed hard onto the floor, but it does need to be in contact. If it's arching, particularly when the legs come down, then what you need to do is you need to bend the knees. So I'm going to ask Eleanor to demonstrate this pose when you do the whole thing with bent knees. So you bring the legs, feet up a little bit, just to there, that's it, and then come down. So you can do it like this with the knees bent, yeah. If you have lower back problems, then this is definitely the variation that you should be doing with the knees bent. Or if you know you've got weak abdominals, you haven't long had a baby, then you need to be doing the variation with the legs bent, okay? Make sure that you keep the breath and the throat soft. So again, as I mentioned earlier, to make sure that you're not straining, make sure that the throat is really soft. And when you've done your 10, you can have a hard-earned rest, little rest in Shavasana. Nice and spread. And the legs nice and strong with the knees together. So the tendency in this pose is for the knees to come apart. So you really want to keep them nice and together to keep the energy focused in on your core and your center. So after your last one, bringing the arms down and having a rest in Shavasana like we started at the beginning. So the legs are wide, the hands and arms are a little bit away from the body, and the palms are up towards the sky. So just a few breaths here. We don't want to get too relaxed. And then when we're ready, inhaling the arms up above the head. And we're going to repeat, but we're going to do the circles the other way. So this time we'll bring our legs up to 90 degrees again. And this time bend the knees into the chest. And exhale the legs out nice and long along the floor, out this way. Good, and then inhaling them all the way back up again. And down, and exhaling. Good, and then back up. That's it. So again, if you're finding that the lower back's lifting off, it's really, really important that you take the bent knee variation, or if you find that you're getting a sore lower back, say after 4 or 5, then you probably need to make the circles smaller, or 4 or 5 is all you can do at the moment, and that will gradually build up with time. So as you practice these, the strength will build up and you'll be able to do more, and the legs will be able to become straighter. So you can see with Elle and Eleanor, their arms are nice and straight above their head, and the palms are facing one another. So again, for beginners, often the arms are bent, and the elbows are sort of pointing really up towards the sky. So you want to try and keep the elbows down as much as you can. And keep the neck soft, and the face soft, and the breath soft. So what are we up to, guys? 8. So we've got 2 more to go. And then Shavasana again. Well done. And then resting when you're ready in Shavasana. So then there's also the opposite is true. If you've been practicing this DVD for a little while and you're feeling that your core is getting really strong, you can do as many of these as you want to. You can do 20 circles each way to really build up that core strength. Okay, we're going to work on strengthening our lower back now, which is an area often overlooked and is also a reason why we get lower back pain as well, is from weak lower back. So we're going to roll onto our tummy. So if you guys roll over to your right and then just swivel your legs around behind. So the heads are at the front of the mat and we're laying down onto our tummies. Okay, and we're going to start off with Bhujangasana, which is Cobra Pose. And we're going to bring the hands underneath the shoulders. So both hands underneath the shoulders. Good. And again, just like we did in plank, the shoulders are down towards the sacrum, and the sacrum and tailbone are down towards the heels. So even when you're laying here on the floor, the tailbone and sacrum need to be long, and the core muscles will be engaging. And all back bending and all back strengthening exercises, it's really important that the core muscles are working. Okay, and we're going to inhale, and we're going to lift the head off and lift the hands off as well. So don't use the hands to lift you up, have the hands lifted off. That's it, like Al here. So Eleanor's using the hands a bit, that's fine, just stay there, Eleanor. Good. And Al's strengthening his back with lifting our hands off. Keep the throat soft. So as you can see, Al hasn't been able to lift as high as Eleanor, but that's fine, that will come. And down we go. And with the hands underneath the shoulders, push back to Adho Mukha Virasana, forward hero pose. So lengthening out the lower back. Just a breath here, just to stretch out the lower back. And then coming forward again. So as you come forward to plank and then lower yourself down. Good. And again. So lifting the hands off and then lifting the upper body, that's it, up by not using the hands. So that we're actually using the back, building up the strength in our lower back. The legs are together and they're nice and active. Breath long, smooth and even. And coming all the way back down. And then press back to Adho Mukha Virasana again. Arms nice and straight, hands spread. And then coming forward again. And this time, this last one, we're going to use the hands on the mat. So Al will keep his hands on the mat. And then we're going to lift up, straightening the arms. So it doesn't matter if you can't get the arms completely straight. So Bhujangasana, Cobra Pose, if you can imagine a cobra before it strikes. That's it, keeping the shoulders down the spine. Now if this is too intense, the other version is you can take the hands nice and wide, so you can have them even wider than your mat. Thanks, Al. So just up a little bit, shoulders down the spine, breath smooth, and all the way back down. And then lifting back to Adho Mukha Virasana. So as I was saying, these back bending poses, they strengthen the back and they strengthen and tone the kidneys and the liver, and they also encourage brain and body connection, so they get that connection happening a little bit better. So they're great for children to practice. So let's coming forward. Again, laying on our tummies, and this time we're going to come into Shavasana, Locust Pose, and so we'll have the hands down behind us, that's it, shoulders down the spine and legs active, and again tailbone long, and we're already working the core muscles. So again we're going to do 3, and the first one, what we're going to do is just lifting the upper body up first. So the forehead comes off first, and then the shoulders. So the legs are staying down on the floor and we're just lifting the upper body up. Long, smooth and even breaths, and really make sure you're working the core muscles, sides of the waist into the spine, and skin on either side of the navel in towards the navel. And exhale down, and then bring the hands underneath the shoulders again, and then push back to Adho Mukha Virasana. Good. So as we looked at earlier, Eleanor's got her knees a little bit wider. So that variation's a little bit easier with the toes together and the knees wide. And then coming forward again. And arms down. 2 more to go. And this time we're going to lift up just the legs. So lifting the legs. So keep the legs nice and straight. You can see here with Al and Eleanor, they've got the legs nice and straight. So they're not bending, bend your knees, Al. So they're not bending, and the legs aren't wide, take your legs wide. So this can happen, and the heels apart. Yeah, so legs are nice and straight and the knees are nice and together. That's it, and release down. And hands underneath the shoulders and releasing all the way back. So I forgot to mention, for guys laying on their tummies and doing these back strengthening poses, they might need to make a few adjustments, okay, so that it's comfortable for them. And if, for women, if your pubic bone is pressing into the mat, you can get a blanket to lay on underneath you. So last one, let's come forward. So, and this time we're going to do both the upper body and the legs. So when we're ready, inhaling and lifting up. So inhaling and keep breathing, long, smooth and even breaths. So the arms, fingertips reaching back towards the heels. The toes reaching towards the wall or the space behind you. So last couple of breaths and release all the way back down. Hands underneath and pressing all the way back to Adho Mukha Virasana. Good. Taking a couple of breaths here. So in Adho Mukha Virasana, well, just while we're breathing here and having a little rest, you can see that Al is a little bit higher, so he hasn't got his full head on the mat. So it's better to have the head like this and the spine in a nice alignment than to try and get, can you take your head down to the mat for me, Al? And see how the line of energy, it's really dropped. So we want to keep the energy nice and flowing. You can see the shoulders are sort of coming together here. We always want to keep the shoulders nice and broad, and we always want to keep the head up. Fantastic. And then we're going to come to laying on our backs. And let's bring the arms out to the side, palms facing up towards the sky. And then bend the knees into the chest. We're just going to come into a nice, easy side twist. So taking the knees over towards the right palm. Good. That's it. So trying to keep the knees together. And the other thing in this pose is that the top knee will often sort of slip back. So you want to keep the knees stacking one on top of the other like so. And keep the shoulders down the spine, the arms extended from fingertip to fingertip, and the breath soft. And then when we're ready, inhaling back to the middle. And to the other side. So this is a really nice pose if you get a lot of back pain, so you can just do it laying on the floor anytime. So you don't have to do poses before or after. This is just a pose you can lie down and do whenever you've got a couple of spare minutes, and it just really helps stretch out that lower back. And stacking the knees one on top of the other. Good. So it can also help release sciatic pain as well, that shooting pain that you get down the back of the legs. Good. And then inhaling the legs back up. Good. And if we roll over to our right side and come to sitting in Dandasana, and we'll just finish off with Paschimottanasana. So we're going to do sitting in Dandasana. So the hands are by the buttocks, the shoulders are down the spine, the crown of the head is moving up towards the sky, and we're grounding down evenly into the earth through the sit bones. So you might be sitting more on one sit bone than the other, so really just try to make sure that that's even. And the legs are what we say Tadasana legs, so like we did at the beginning class in mountain pose, and we had our legs nice and active and our feet broad and spread, we do the same here in Dandasana. And when we're ready, inhaling the arms up above the head and then coming forward. Good. And what you can do, if you've got some folded blankets, because we want to start winding down now before we do Shavasana, you can take a couple of blankets or a couple of pillows and do some head support. So I'm going to give Eleanor a couple of blankets, and if she just comes forward so that the head is resting here on the blankets. The arms are nice and soft. The shoulders are still moving down the spine, so it's really important in your forward bends, as I've expressed in every pose, to have the shoulders down the spine. Now the main reason for that is that the lungs come right up to the collarbones, right up to here. They're actually quite a big organ. They come right up to here. So we need to, when we lift the shoulders up like this, which we tend to do in daily life, and we take that into our yoga practice, we're shortening our breath. So we really need to keep the shoulders down. And then the lungs can breathe nice and freely, and then the mind can become soft. So Al, Here he hasn't got support, and that's fine too. Or what you can do, the other variation that we can do is use a chair. So again, any chair will do that you've got around home. Where do you want it? A bit further back. And we'll give Ella a blanket for the chair. There's a little bit of a wooden edge there, so it's nice and soft for his forehead. So this pose here, Paschimottanasana, at the end, it's all about softening and relaxing, so you want to make it reasonably comfortable. There's still work going on in the legs, but the shoulders are soft, the arms are soft, the mind is soft, and the breath is soft. So Paschimottanasana is intense back stretch, so you're stretching out the whole back of the legs and the back. You're quietening. This is a great pose for quietening the central nervous system. It's a really great pose if you're having problems sleeping. So before you go to bed, or if you go to bed and you find you can't sleep, get up and do this one, particularly with the head supported, and just focus on your breath, and you'll find that you'll be able to quieten yourself down. So just a few more breaths here. And then quietly coming up, rolling back up through the spine. Again, just slowly. And then we're going to roll down through the spine to prepare ourselves for Shavasana. So you might want to put something warm on, so it's really important to be warm in Shavasana. If you've got a blanket handy, it's really nice to put it over top of you. And again, if you've got neck issues, you can have a blanket underneath the back of the neck, but not underneath the shoulders. Okay, just underneath the back of the neck. Having the arms wide, the palms facing up towards the sky, and the feet are wider than hip width, and the toes are rolling out. So in your Shavasana, allowing the whole body to soften and relax. Cut. Hey, because we're going to do Shavasana at the end, so it means we don't have to film it every time, doesn't it? We could just edit it in.
Yeah.
But if we look different. Oh yeah, true.
But we need to probably do 3 or 4 minutes of it because you're going to talk us through.
I'll talk through a Shavasana. Yeah. No, I'll do it now.
We'll do Shavasana and then we'll do the warrior.
Yeah.
Do you know what's the time?
It must be about 25 past 2.
Is this a sort of clock on the floor somewhere?
Oh, actually, I turned my phone off. Why do you have to go, Eleanor?
I've got something at 3 o'clock. I just want to know that it's not.
No, it's okay. I'll tell you. It's freezing. Just as well, you can't see my cold nipples in this top. It's 2:30.
2:30. Awesome.
Never a good look.
This shot?
Yeah.
When you were around the other way doing something else, your head was chopped off and your head was down the seam.
That's cool, we can just...
That's a really good shot from up there, right? On our.
Sweet, we'll do 4 minutes. Oh, we'll do the full relaxation, you know?
Yeah. So cold.
You can use
Some socks on.
You can use a blanket over your ass on, I think.
Yeah, blanket over me, can I? Yeah, good idea.
Explain that you're putting it on, keep warm or something.
Okay. Explain that. So where was I up to?
We're in relaxation and you're sitting there.
Right. So allowing the body to come completely soft and relaxed. Let's bring our awareness to our feet, relaxing our feet, the tops of our feet, the soles of our feet, and all our toes, completely softening and relaxing. Relaxing our ankles, relaxing our shins and calves, our knees, front of the knees and back of the knees. Relaxing our thighs, front of the thighs, back of the thighs, thigh bones relaxing. Relaxing the pelvis area, the buttocks, the pelvic floor. Completely softening and letting go all the organs in that area, excretory organs, the reproductory organs, softening and letting go. Relaxing our lower back, relaxing our abdominal area, so the side waist relaxing, the abdominals relaxing, all the organs in this area relaxing, the large intestines, the small intestines, the stomach, the liver, the pancreas, the kidneys, softening and relaxing. Relaxing the rib cage, the front of the rib cage, the right side and the left side, and the sternum, softening and relaxing. Relaxing the back of the rib cage, the right side and the left side, the top and bottom, softening and relaxing. Relaxing the lungs and the heart. Giving thanks and appreciation to all the work that they do. Relaxing the collarbones, the shoulder blades and the shoulder joints, both the right and the left, softening and relaxing. Relaxing the upper arms, the front of the arm, the back of the arms, the elbows, softening and relaxing. The forearms, the front of the forearms, back of the forearms, the wrist bones, softening and relaxing. The palms, the right palm, the left palm, all the fingers, the thumb, the index finger, the middle finger, the ring finger and the little finger, softening and relaxing. So your whole body from your neck down is completely soft and relaxed. And now softening your neck and throat. Softening your scalp, that's the skin on your head. Softening and relaxing. The forehead broad and open. The right eyebrow opening to the right temple and the left eyebrow opening to the left temple. The eyes completely softening. The ears completely softening. nose and cheeks softening, the right jaw softening, the left jaw softening. The back of the tongue moving towards the back of the throat. So now the whole body is completely soft and relaxed. If the mind begins to wander, just bring the awareness back to the space in between the thoughts. And now, just bring your awareness back to your breath again. Bring yourself back up through the layers. And taking a deep breath in and inhaling your right arm up above your head. And rolling over to your right side. And quietly come up to sitting. Come to sitting in a comfortable position with the legs crossed. Bring the hands onto the knees, the shoulders down the spine, crown of the head towards the sky. And bring the hands to the prayer position in front of the chest. To the forehead for peaceful thoughts to yourself and others. To the throat for peaceful words to yourself and others. And to your heart for peaceful, heartfelt actions to yourself and others. Namaste. So Namaste means the higher self in me salutes the higher self in you. Thank you everybody for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.